Everyone is always waiting for a giant to fall. I guess it's time to call timber because Marvel is coming down.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Marvel, the MCU, the thing that just won't die no matter how much we want it. Now, I guess that's not fair to say. I love comic books, I make them professionally, and I loved a decent chunk of the Marvel films, but since Endgame, the well has run dry and Marvel is finally scraping the bottom. In just a few short days, we're going to be graced with the gift that is eternal boredom, because Marvel's next film sounds like the dumpster fire we've been waiting for. Get your popcorn ready, folks. Marvel has finally shit the bed. Eternals, one of Marvel's worst movies so far. Just out of Infinity War. Sorry, Marvel's Eternals. Seriously, what a snooze fest. Fresh off winning Best Director Oscar for Nomadland, Chloe Zhao has upchucked one of Marvel's worst movies in ages. And to what end? Eternals, which will no doubt become a Jon Favreau punchline in the next Avengers film, needs not exist in a universe that already counts the Fantastic Four and X-Men among the franchises. Yet here you go, ticket buyers, yet another far worse, uniformed collective of super beings with conspicuously similar powers and a vague, grandiose mission to save humanity. Well, where were our amazing protectors when several hundred innocent people walked into a lousy 2-hour, 37-minute movie Monday night? The Eternals are powerful aliens who have spent 7,000 years on Earth keeping the masses safe from deviants, which, what I gathered, are wolves made out of twigs. However, like Star Trek's Prime Directive, they refuse to impact the course of history. They often screw up that last part. The most important difference between the Eternals and X-Men, however, is that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Halle Berry's Storm are layered, fascinating character studies. Angelina Jolie's Thena has the personality of a bar of soap, and an accent that suggests the semester abroad in London was the best 4 months of her life. All the characters are similarly bland. Richard Madden's Icarus is hot, can fly, and has laser eyes. Gemma Chan's Cersei is able to change inanimate objects into other inanimate objects, but God forbid she can alter her facial expression. Druig can control people's minds. Kingo stars in Bollywood movies and has fire hands. Makari runs super fast. Gilgamesh is really, really strong, and Sprite has the ability to trick people with optical illusions. There's also Phastos, the magical inventor of new technologies played by Brian Tyree Henry, who boasts one of the time-jumping movie's most confounding moments. The screen reads Hiroshima 1945, while Henry stands amid the wreckage and yells, "What have I done?" And the group's leader, Ajak, is played by Salma Hayek, who is not even allowed to be fun and Selma Hayek-y. I lost count of how many times these 10 boring people casually found themselves in the perfect triangular formation. The movie's conflict is that the deviants, which were believed to be destroyed, are back again, and our heroes must stop the atrociously animated monsters. Speaking of which, Denis Villeneuve's Dune, which hit theaters last Friday, showed theatergoers the wonderment well-done CGI can achieve and how Marvel so regularly makes us beg for the bare minimum. Eternals whisks us to a lot of places like Iraq, South Dakota, Mexico, Mesopotamia, Babylon. They all look exactly the same and make the movie feel, well, like 7,000 years. The dramatic open ending teases a sequel. The giggles in the auditorium throughout, however, suggest a reboot. What are things that are way funnier than they should be for 500, Alex? I'm just gonna say it. That was harsh. If I'm such a comic fan, why am I happy to hear this? Marvel has become complacent and lazy. The movies are all too similar. The more they put out, the more I understand Scorsese's point. For those who don't know, Martin Scorsese is not a fan of Marvel movies. He was quoted as saying, "I don't think they're cinema." I was asked a question about Marvel movies. I answered it. I said that I've tried to watch a few of them, but they're not for me. That they seem to be closer to theme parks than they are to movies, as I've known and loved them throughout my life. I'd call Marvel movies movies. I think Scorsese is a little off the mark. Some of the MCU films are legit. I'd definitely go to bat for Iron Man, The Avengers, Winter Soldier, and Infinity War. The other films are varying quality, with Captain Marvel being at the bottom of that list. I love to say that, but then again, that woman is a soul-stealing robot. Quick aside, a listener sent me this info about a game show in the UK called Pointless. On the show, they have to name actors in Avengers Endgames from their face photos. It's one of those quiz shows where you have to have 100 people ask the question, so the goal is to get the one that the least of these people got right. The ultimate goal is to get a pointless answer, hence the name. Anyway, the reason for sharing this was one of the faces was Brie Larson. It scored 5 points, so only 5 out of 100 people asked knew who she was. That was the 4th lowest score. That's who's leading the next phase of the MCU. I've been saying it for some time that Marvel is in a weird place. They're in the middle of adapting all these Z-list characters and making forgettable movies. Do you remember Black Widow or Shang-Chi? I saw both of those films in theaters and I couldn't tell you the last act of each film. They weren't memorable like Guardians of the Galaxy, and they weren't groundbreaking like seeing Captain America on screen. Now, too bad that took place in 1990, but let's keep that same level of pomp and circumstance up for Iron Man. He deserves it. Added on to the point that this movie, The Eternals, is just bad, the reviewer let us know how little fun there was to be had in this film. I wonder if the solemn tone is because of the cast. Is Marvel afraid of offending someone on the internet if they don't take Marvel's most ethnically diverse cast 100% serious? This is a comic book movie. We're supposed to have a good time. Does Marvel think it's progressive for women to be boring? The reviewer points out both Gemma Chan and Salma Hayek for being boring and emotionless. If Angelina Jolie just stays awake, she may outact them. But, the way it sounds, I may not be able to stay awake. Are you going to go see this film? Are you going to take a blanket and pillow? My local Regal is selling warm milk to help you nod off before the opening credits. That way, Marvel gets our money and we get a nice, greasy nap. That's all that matters, right? Money? I can justify commercial endeavors in art. Star Wars is a prime example of that. When done right, these films become classics that sell a boatload of merchandise. Welcome to Jurassic Park. I like when Marvel gets it right. I walk out of those movies happy and excited to see the next. They've lost their touch. These movies just feel like pointless endeavors, not another exciting chapter in the story. Marvel lost the magic with Endgame. While I think Marvel is in its twilight of relevancy, I don't think comic book movies are passé. I can't say I'm incredibly excited for the Batman, but I enjoyed Shazam and Aquaman, so their sequels interest me. I wish we had something bigger to look forward to. After the Avengers dropped, there wasn't a week that went by that my pal Joel and I didn't try to book the Avengers end battle against Thanos. How would they do it? Who else would be on the team? The possibilities felt endless. We don't have that anymore. Do you still feel that level of excitement? Be honest. I'm just watching some of these out of curiosity. I don't know if I'll be able to handle the Eternals, especially with the warm milk. It's hopeless. Pointless, too. I don't think this one will break any records, any positive ones, that is. No, we'll see. No matter what, The Eternals is going to be a very important film in the MCU's storied history. Also, the toys have been on clearance for weeks. Nobody gives a fuck about The Eternals.